All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to TableTalk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, The Bella Gamer, with my co-host Blue Boy.
Hello.
And if you are new to the channel or you're watching this post live stream, we always get on to the subject somewhere in the 20 to 30 minute range, 25-minute range. So you can hop to there if you want to get to the subject. We always kind of just open up with some chat while people are hopping in. Everyone here yelling nerd and geeks and nothing I would. It's everything I would expect from this, from our community. So welcome,
That's about
welcome
right.
everyone. But yeah, so what's been up with you, Alex?
Not much else. I did put out a video today that, on one hand, I am very delighted that my very integral artistic vision didn't get sniped by the YouTube bots. Very integral, I assure you.
Mm-hmm.
In the fact that in the thumbnail I had written in red text, "This is a threat." There was part of me where I'm like, I feel like this fun little video that's just about 40k books, because my little research tab is telling me that that's a good term for my channel right now. And also I've been reading a lot of the books recently. Be a good topic. And a lot of 40k book content is really positive and nice. What if I just pretend that it's really mean and threatening? And I was like, this is the one video where I feel like the YouTube AI could just be like, this is threatening content, demonetized, or at least restrict. It didn't. Oh well. Happily. On the other hand, I did also get a bunch of fun stuff logged and talked about at my doctor recently. I'm gonna get tested for sleep apnea. Turns out I have a lot of the symptoms for it, which I'm now considering what the final test is, because he was telling me all right, the process, which is all of which I'm like, this is just going to be weird to deal with. The first one is they send you a home kit where it's you wear on your finger and your wrist and shit, which I don't get how that works. I don't get how they monitor your air intake from your wrist. That's weird. Like magic or something, I don't know. And then if they detect that you got it, I'm gonna be invited over and have to sleep in the hospital, which then I'm probably gonna have sleep performance anxiety. It's already tough enough for me to sleep, so that's gonna be something. But it will probably fix a lot of issues, because I was like, man, that's probably true. My dad has sleep apnea. Then I looked down the checklist and I'm like, damn, all these signs of sleep apnea, that's pretty accurate. I do wake up and my throat is in pain, and apparently I choke in my sleep. So lots of new things I'm learning today. Also, apparently it isn't. They don't have to even put the big face mask over your face anymore to treat it. Very recently, they developed a fucking just implant that can shove in your chest to fix sleep apnea. And my doctor was like, "Ah, we could that's a possible fix if we find out you have sleep apnea." And then I was like, I don't think my healthcare will cover that, man. I just got the basic Washington state provided one.
Yeah, sounds crazy. I'm so glad I have good genetics and have the only bad thing is I have an allergy to penicillin and maybe a proclivity to some kind of addiction. I don't know. Alcoholism was in my dad's side of the family, but I never have had any problems with alcohol, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I've never had an addictive personality or any issues of that in my family either. All I know is that I'm the weird one in the family, because I just have a lot of weird, tiny genetic issues. Just stuff like my fingers don't work right. They just bend weird, which I was really sad to learn as a kid, because I physically cannot play guitar, which is so sad to learn. Because it's just yeah, I'm so excited as a kid to play guitar. I played a lot of Guitar Hero, and I was inspired to actually learn, and I wanted to do all this, and then I go take some classes, and then I learned that the three most basic chords, I physically and genetically cannot move my hands in position. And then I'm like, oh, genetically, I was just told at birth I can't do this. Oh, that's fun. Nice.
Like I said, sucks to suck, I guess.
Yeah, I can't help it. Just all the, like, it's a bunch of little things like that.
For me, on my side of things, things have been going good. I finished up the last of like the how to play, why you should play Pathfinder things. I'm getting ready for the many books of Pathfinder that are coming out soon. Like, it's gonna be very strange because after this week, I'm gonna have like 2 to 3 Lancer videos a week and 1 Pathfinder video a week, because I'm gonna be doing a Lancer review and then a why you should play Lancer video, followed by a how to play Lancer, and then finally a how to GM Lancer video set. So
Good timing. When is these Lancer videos gonna start being posted?
the review is next week.
Cool.
So.
Because I, due to just scheduling stuff I have to work around, I am actually planning to post my Lancer video. I'm hoping to post it Monday. If it gets a little like too much, like I find the editing load is a little too crazy, I'm going to post it Thursday. Also because I guess I'll tease it here, because I'm working on it now. Everything is all put in order. I am going to take part in a big 40K collab video. A big community thing. A lot of other channels are part of it. And I will have my thing submitted, and all I know is that the video will be posted after February 10th because I have to get my video to him before the 10th. So I will be submitting something there, and in that meantime, I will be making a Lancer video of just the best mech tabletop game. And so I was planning on like talking to you about it, especially today. Like, hey, if you're making those Lancer videos, I gotta point people over to, like, if you want to play the game, here's someone actually telling you about how to play the game. That's not what my video is. Mine's just teaching you about the vibes and the lore.
Yeah, well, I know we talked about it, I think like last week or the week before.
Yeah,
about because you were gonna do like a lore video or something on it.
I have most of the script written. I just I'm currently in the phase, like, I wrote most of it when I went on Christmas vacation. And now all I need to do is actually, even before that, I just need to go back and retouch it, and then I also made it a little too expansive. I can honestly pull back. I was making it too complex. I can make it a little easier, and other than that, just make it nice and simple. Make a nice little fun video on why Lancer is just the coolest mech game, and talk about the lore. And specifically, the part I really think is cool is that a lot of the Lancer lore, like its background, is it's like if the Imperium of Man was deposed, because that is basically the previous government system, was just the Imperium of Man if there were no Xenos.
Union 2.0 or whatever.
Yeah, it's like either the second committee or the second or third committee or something.
Well, I think it's currently in the third committee, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, the second committee was the terrible one.
And so, it's the exact same beliefs and methodology. The only difference is the Lancer universe does not have any sentient Xenos life. So they just turned it all inward, and then boom. And other than that, it's got the coolest stuff for it, and the mechs are awesome. So then, I got everything like written up, and then just the extra work that is also producing what I have to make is basically a highly made, highly tight channel trailer, basically, for this collab video, to get as many people possible to click over to my channel. collab videos historically are not like the greatest to pull people over, but also it's very fun. I wanna take part. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, that's always something that's good to have as well as like community. That reminds me, we need to bring some people on to Table Talk at some point.
Yeah,
It's been a bit. It's been a
I
hot
love
minute.
having people on. Table talk with like our guest episodes are immensely fun.
Hmm. I definitely know I want to talk to someone from the Starfinder team, and
Ooh.
also either James or the other guy. My goodness, it's been a minute and my brain has been kind of turned off for remembering names. Or isn't it? It's not James. My the what I can't for I've forgotten my favorite like developer. I'm sad now. My memory is so terrible. I really need to work on that.
I feel you there. My memory is also dog shit. And the worst part, I don't know any of these devs. But Starfinder's pretty interesting. I'm curious about it. Everything I
Yeah,
hear about the playtest sounds awesome.
I'm very stoked, honestly. It's something I'm very looking forward to. And you know, it'll be a fun kind of like expansion of the content I've been doing in general. Michael Sayer. Yeah, Michael Sayer. I can't believe I forgot Michael Sayer's name. And hello, Cahola Drissa. How you doing? And James Case. It was James. Okay. James Case and Michael Sayer. Either one of them or both. Get them on, chat with them. Yeah, it's something we'll be talking about here pretty soon, probably next 10 minutes or so. But you know, we're just chatting, let people get in. There Kojo. J is such a weird letter because it's pronounced differently in so many places. So I'm just gonna assume it's Joe since it's been pronounced or it's been emphasized. Yeah, other than that, so I got a bunch of Lancer content coming. We're about to start our next season for our Pathfinder live play, Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Riptide Season 3. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very hyped for that.
Remaster stuff. It's
Yeah.
very cool. I have draft 1 of remaster Tiefling Wizard, and I'm going to like remake it again before, and especially with Foundry, and then go
Yeah.
through and see if there's anything else I want to alter.
So that's gonna be super high. And then like I'm not super stressed about kind of going a little slow on the Pathfinder content because a good part of this year I'm just gonna be pumping out Pathfinder content like it's no one's business. So
Yeah, there's
I ain't
enough
stressing.
time for Pathfinder book releases and stuff.
Yeah. And Lancer, like the Lancer community has been growing pretty fast on the channel as well. And Lancer in general has been doing really, really well.
As it should.
And it's kind of something we're going to talk about today as well, because like the TTRPG community has kind of slowed down quite a bit in the last few months. I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but like just not a lot has been happening, really. Which there's a multitude of factors, but we'll get to that, like I said, here in a little bit. It's kind of one of the major parts of the conversation today. Like, we're not even going to talk too much about Nonats, but since Nonats, I guess, was the biggest Pathfinder content creator, I figured it was worth mentioning, at the very least, his recent video announcing a bit of a hiatus from Pathfinder content. So we'll talk about that as well. especially compared to this time last year. True. Last year we had the OGL, and like a bunch of channels blew up overnight over that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, you got about a quarter of what's coming out. They got Monster Core coming out. They got the Qianxia character guide and the Qianxia location book. They have the remaster or Player Core 2 coming out. We also have the War of the Immortals coming out, which is going to have 2 new classes in it. There's a lot. In addition to the various Adventure Pass for people who love Adventure Pass that are going to be coming out. There's a lot. And in addition, there's also Starfinder stuff coming out as well. So you know what? Actually, let's go ahead and talk about it. Well, we can get started a little early today. So it's been very interesting lately. When you look at like the general TTRPG space, we had a huge blow up last year. There's a bunch of interest, and that was mostly because of the OGL, honestly. It brought TTRPGs to like many people in the way that it was just something that like everyone was talking about. All the big YouTube channels, whether it's Moist Critical, whether it's Ordinary Gamer, you know, a lot of channels were talking about it. Cool, Kojo. Well, I got a lot of content for you now. I just finished up my last like how to play Pathfinder video for now. I might do more later, but I want to touch some other TTRPG stuff, especially since the law this year is just going to be a lot of Pathfinder content anyway. And it's interesting that since, I don't know, I think it's been since before November. It felt like tabletop was something that a lot of people were talking about, and then it kind of just disappeared. Like the remaster came up for Pathfinder, and I guess that's why it felt like a lot of people were talking about. That's just because that's what, you know, we deal with. But I think in general, TTRPG stuff has kind of been slowly falling off. There's that one commercial on YouTube, the Crooked Moon, that was going on that I think just made a lot of people more interested, because it was a really cool commercial, honestly, for essentially like a Patreon project.
I didn't see it. If it was like an ad, I have YouTube Premium, so.
And so many people have ad blocker and whatever, so you know.
Yeah.
I run ads just because it doesn't bother me that bad, and I know it helps someone. I mean, YouTube Red also helps someone, but you know, I don't want to get YouTube Red, so this is how I'm helping instead. So, you know, there's been a bit of a slowdown, and on top of this slowdown, we just recently got news from Nonat, who was, you know, kind of the poster boy for Pathfinder for a while, being the biggest content creator. He hit 20K before anyone else. He hit 50K, and even Ronald now, as hard as he's trying, is still pushing 38K or something like that. It actually blows my mind that Ronald doesn't have more views, honestly, or more subscribers.
Like specifically just grinding Pathfinder stuff, and even like going really hard into trying to get people in 5e to look at Pathfinder, like catering to them of helping people jump over as like an interest.
Yeah, a lot of my viewers keep saying like they like how Ronald takes arguments and tries to spin them in a more positive direction for Pathfinder. So a lot of arguments against Pathfinder and kind of spins them for a more positive light. So he does a lot of good work.
That's a good way of doing it.
I think he's done very, very well, and it's a damn shame that he was not, I guess, the biggest Pathfinder content creator. I guess he is now the biggest Pathfinder content creator, since Nona has officially kind of like stepped back And so recently, Nonat Ones, if anyone is familiar, which if you're watching Pathfinder content, I can't imagine you not knowing at least the name,
Yeah.
uh, made a video saying that he was going to be taking a step back from Pathfinder. He's not 100% giving up on Pathfinder content. He still likes Pathfinder 2e, but he he's been doing it for about 4 years, and he feels like his content is getting stale, and he felt like videos haven't been fun for like the last year for him, pretty much, to make. And so he's now stepped back. Strangely, he's gone on to do private server City of Heroes content, and streaming is like his primary focuses. And he says he'll come back and he'll do Pathfinder when new books come out. But in the meantime, if nothing else is coming out, he's just not going to make content on Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And you know what? Honestly, good for him. There's no point in doing YouTube as a career, even if it is going to not be fun for you.
Yeah, I think the mindset you have to go into it if you want to stay sane is go into it at least with the mindset of enjoying the work you're doing and wanting to like express yourself creatively in some aspect. You go into like YouTube with the aspect of make it big, make the big YouTube bucks, blow up. That's how you get the really shitty challenge prank like dog shit channels. You go in
Yeah.
there, you make the content that's fun, and you do what works. You find an audience, you work with them, and you do your best to just be a fun channel, and then you operate in that lens. And yeah, I mean, if whatever he does, if it works out better for him, good for him. Um, I mean, it is a shame because at least like if a big name in Pathfinder is leaving, and hopefully those people who are subbed, and maybe even those people who are like only watching Pathfinder content through him, do disperse and find other people in the community instead of just like, oh, I guess I just don't watch Pathfinder videos no more.
Yeah. And, honestly, I think this is kind of more indicative of a bigger problem when it comes to TTRPG content in general, which is I feel like more so than most other kind of hobbies, it is the hardest to make interesting consistently for like infinite videos. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
video games, it's about playing the video game. So either the person you're watching is a particularly funny person, and so all it is funny person plays video game, or they can just play other video games, and there's always more video games. So tabletop content, it's not quite the same. There's not really that hunger on a grander scale, I should say, for more diverse like variety tabletop content. There are people, of course, out there who are definitely looking for that kind of stuff, but it's not a very big audience, if I'm going to be honest, you know? And it's like, how can you make tabletop interesting? Like, I think Warhammer works because, one, it's something where there's the painting hobby aspect to it as much as like the battle game tournament ends, and also the lore that's super big for a lot of people. And like, let's all be honest here, right? No one's talking about lore like Warhammer people are talking about their lore. Right?
Yeah, it's pretty
for
big. It's
for
it's the main selling point.
it's one of the things, like, you could argue that Forgotten Realms kind of has more of an interest, especially after like Baldur's Gate 3. But even then, I still don't feel like the lore end is as popular as it is for like Warhammer. So
No. It's also because it's just the difference is the barrier or the entry point, I feel like, I guess, um perceived maybe. I don't know. It's for lore content also. It's you're just getting into a story that's being told to you. You don't need to like go out and buy stuff. Someone could just regurgitate something from a wiki or a book they read, and you're like, whoa, it's so crazy. And then now you're a lore guy because you watch YouTube videos and you can tell it. And so it's like an endless game of telephone. And then it also helps that 40K is absolutely metal as shit. And so it's just like you
It's a
just
fun
tell
setting.
people weird, fun, goofy stories from 40K. And then D&D is just like, you know, a pretty weird, like kind of standard like fantasy world. So, you know, it's kind of interesting for a fantasy setting. But if you have a basic understanding of Western fantasy, you understand the basics of D&D, and then you're like, oh yeah, and then the Githyanki are from space, and they're like, that's weird, that's not normal.
Yeah.
And kind of ends there.
I mean, it's not that Pathfinder doesn't have interesting lore. It definitely does. Cool stuff. But it's something that just doesn't translate to an audience, I think, super well. And
it's not as big.
And like for Nonats, like on his behalf, or not his behalf, but like for his benefit, I think it's the right move for him to do something that he's more passionate about, because in all honesty, unless you are a big fanatic when it comes to tabletop stuff, I mean, it just doesn't pay a lot, you know? Like, if you're gonna make something your job, it shouldn't be YouTube if you're not loving it, you know what I mean?
No.
Because there's so many
project.
better jobs out there that pay you more and consistently than YouTube does for like 99% of its content creators. You know? So, you know, it's something that is understandable. And there was also, we were kind of having this conversation last time as well. There's a bunch of content creators who dipped their toes into Pathfinder 2e, and it got so many less views, and it just started damaging their channel, especially because how the algorithm is currently does not favor diversifying content, that it makes it so it hurts their channel legitimately to do. So that being the case, it's understandable to make a dramatic shift, even one as such as big as this, when you have a big audience, to see if you can at least make something out of it. Because in the end, you're just going to burn out anyway. So you might as well go before you're losing people just from burnout content. So I think it's good. Now, I've gone the direction of having variety tabletop just be my main thing. And I've been doing that for a long time now. Probably about like a year, I think, since I made that decision to do so. And I think it's been healthy for the channel. Honestly, Lancer content keeps my channel afloat in a lot of ways. Like, they don't get a ton of views, but people are like always viewing my Lancer content. All the time, every time I take a look at like my top content for a given month, Lancer's like almost half of the number of videos.
I think it's kind of the same for me. Granted, I made the shift to like covering World of Darkness purely out of like, I want to do this for my own sake. I find it more interesting, and taking little like brain breaks to cover a different setting is just, it's more fun for me. It lets me stretch my legs in a different tone, not tone, but like a different like style of game, something that isn't sci-fi. And because of this, like my World of Darkness stuff doesn't get the most views, but the thing I notice about specifically like the Vampire the Masquerade and World of Darkness fans is like the videos immediately don't do great, but like over the course of years they just consistently grow pretty well. So they just consistently grow. They're just not going to do it immediately. And I keep getting people coming in being like, hell yeah, then talk about like a chronicle they did, like relating to the video I made. And I'm always like, that's fun. This is what I want. I just want people coming in and like talking about like the games they're doing, which is, or even being like talking about just how these elements from the game kind of work for the method of play they do, and how these things kind of inspire them or teach them to come up with other characters. That's what it should do. It's good tabletop content where you can come away from a video about a tabletop game with ideas to take it at your table.
Yeah.
That's, means it's working.
Yeah, and inspiration, I think, is the biggest thing when it comes to TTRPG players. The number one thing that I think most people enjoy is watching stuff that be like, I want to do that, or I want to do that, or I have a great idea for a character now, kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so, like, in the end, I don't think a sole Pathfinder 2e channel could ever really do super well on YouTube. Like, moderately, sure. Moderately to a degree of, like, what the Rules Lawyer and maybe even Nonats achieved, which is about, like, 50k, right? But that's not... You can't do anything really with that to any extensive degree. So you have to kind of add more. D&D just has the benefit of being D&D. So D&D content creators, like, they can talk about a lot of different things, and people are just interested because they're like, oh yeah, D&D, I love that, or I'm in a game like that, and it's very easy because of the size of its audience. But for other TTRPGs, I think it's harder. Now, will stay harder? I don't know. I think we're coming to a time period where we're going to hit another point where a lot of people are going to be checking out other content. Maybe. It depends on 1D&D, in all honesty. If 1D&D is a smash hit and fixes a lot of the problems, then it's going to be the era of D&D for longer. If it doesn't, if it messes a lot of things up, or if it just is more or less the same, I think people are going to start really looking into other tabletop. And to be fair, people are already looking into other tabletop just by the grace of a lot of people now have been playing D&D for 5+ years, and so they're kind of interested in other tabletops now. So, like, a lot of the community is kind of maturing in the tabletop space, and will soon be ready for the harvest of more variety tabletop channels, which is kind of something I'm banking on. So
yeah,
it's
I've also we'll see about the 1D&D things. Apparently they fucked with tieflings recently.
I saw that they're removing tieflings, or not removing, but they're changing the lore behind tieflings or something like that.
That'll go well, I assume.
Yeah, one of the most popular races in D&D.
Yeah,
To be fair, Pathfinder did it.
they did. They
So,
did do it, but
To be fair, though, Nephilim does sound just kind of cooler. So
yeah, and it's customizable to the point like, I mean, Tiefling was just Tiefling, and then when it came to Tiefling in Pathfinder, it was also like, all right, Fiend, Demon, or Daemon, which form, and then like there's so many other customizable bits, and now it's like a lot more other feats. Like, the ancestry feats for Nephilim are so cool. I'm such a fan. I had a great time just delving through and picking some really cool new ones.
mm-hmm. They streamlined tiefling so it's no longer 10 subspecies. Yeah, but the problem with that is people love subspecies.
Yeah, it's
they want the
customizable.
variety.
It's the problem with streamlining stuff. It's like, also oh my god, it's the issue too, where the things people liked with D&D was the adding the little bits of complexity to D&D because it didn't have any. There was fucking none there. And so they added more, and people were like, oh, finally, more in this very streamlined experience. And they're just gonna take more out. What is there? What left is there?
The 99% of DMs who are like, all right, you get a stat boost and a feat every 4 levels.
Yeah, the simple fucking change of adding it so you can get feats with level ups, in my experience, makes D&D a significantly more interesting game. Like, it just in leveling. Feats like are actually can change up your character and have some fun little extra abilities in there. And then they're like, yeah, do you want to make your stats good, or do you want this feat? It's like, well, the stat increase is always the good option. Like, why wouldn't I do this?
Yeah, right.
It's fucking stupid. Jesus.
So, yeah, kind of like bringing things back around. It's right now TTRPGs are just kind of in a quiet period, and I don't think that's a negative thing inherently so.
Just means that nothing bad's happening, honestly.
I'm well, I would say that's not necessarily a great thing because even bad stuff like OGL was actually great for the TTRPG scene as a whole. So
A lot of people talking.
it it, it it was something that was it's not a bad thing in my opinion, mostly because I think a lot of it is just kind of like a slow boil. Like the pot is on or the kettle is like on the stove and it's just set to a low enough temperature where it'll boil eventually, but not right away. And that's because I think a lot of people are waiting for 1D&D or whatever they're calling it now because no one knows.
I just see people online only still calling it 1D&D.
Yeah, I know, which makes me think did they go back and call it 1D&D? I don't think so. I think it's just the one thing everyone knows what to call it because D&D and WotC themselves called it that. And then we're like, not actually. 1D&D sounds like a new edition. So.
Also, it sounds like they went back and they might be getting rid of the their own custom VTT because they're now working with Foundry. Which, hey, Foundry is dope. Glad they're working with it, but man, that D&D VTT was like the one cool announcement from that stream.
They call it the 2024 handbooks. Isn't that just the lamest thing I've ever heard?
Such a non-title.
I think they're just going to have both. I actually think they're going to have both too. I think they put a lot of time and effort into their VTT, but it does make it feel like they are not super confident in it. But at the same time, it's also just a smart business move, right? A lot of people have Foundry
by a lot of people because they're running their custom VTT was also Unreal Engine, and like that program most likely what they showed off is just not going to be like realistically able to run on most people's like laptops and shit.
Yeah.
So like Foundry, you could most likely run that on like anything.
So, I think a lot of people are just waiting. They're waiting to see what happens. I think the next big thing that's going to come out is Daggerheart releasing. I think that's mostly just because it's a Critical Role property, and so we're going to just get controversy about it because there's so many people in the TTRPG space who just hate anything critical related, like at all. And so it's going to have controversy, whether it's good or not. It's just going to have controversy. There's no if, and, or but about it. It could be the perfect game and it'd have controversy. So that's one I'm also excited for because I can't wait to talk about it. And yeah, I think like Paizo's also been making some big moves behind the scenes. They've been investing in a lot of things. They have another game coming out sometime this year. Not that I'm super excited about it, but I have to go back to the other game Bickham made because it's gone through quite a few updates. So when it releases in 1.0, I'll do another video on the Bickham Pathfinder game. But Pathfinder's been really pushing, and honestly, I'm all here for it. Plus, with Starfinder's 2nd edition coming out, I mean, it's exactly what you would want, right? Another Pathfinder 2nd edition like game on the market. Because legitimately, all honesty, I know everyone is super tired of D&D clones. Give me some Pathfinder 2e clones. Give me just a bunch of game systems that rip off the Pathfinder 2e systems in new and different ways. I would legitimately love that. And with the orc, you can do that without any major problems. You just can't take any of the, the IPs from Pathfinder, but you can take the rules and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just like, please give me some different, slightly variant Pathfinder 2e games, because I think like just even moving from high fantasy to starfaring, science fiction, even though there's magic technically still, like that's a huge theme jump, and I'm still excited for the idea of it. Pathfinder 2e version of Shadowrun, yes. Star Wars in that,
I I I'm not a Star Wars guy, but just anything with that rule set. The other one I'm thinking of is uh just modern day, something set in our world, something like
please.
Monster of the Week or some I like some modern setting with just some spooky shit going on, Call of Cthulhu style. That'd be sick. I would love that. That'd be so cool.
So like give me Pathfinder clones, please. Please. I think we're going to see it legitimately. The problem is Pathfinder came onto the market, and producing new TTRPGs takes a lot of time. Most of the time, unless they're terrible ripoff games. And again, it's still not very sure whether it will sell good. D&D 5e stuff sells well, so that makes sense. Pathfinder, it's still somewhat niche as far as market concerns are. But even then, that's kind of just like tabletop in general. So I don't know. Give me more to sink my teeth into with this amazing rule set. Legitimately, I would love to see people try to like remove some of the fluff and try to make a much more optimized, streamlined version of Pathfinder Second Edition. Because as much as I like it, and as much as I think it works as well as it does because it's so well thought out, I want to see people's interpretation of like taking this thing that works very well and then trying to streamline it. Because honestly, like that's how cars got faster and got better, right? Is we had some really good cars, some really good like engines and all that. And then there's just been iteration on iteration trying to streamline it more and more, make it more affordable, make it easier to access, all that kind of stuff. So
Just having more people fiddling with the orc system and having more people playing with Pathfinder is a good thing, especially because we already have a lot of third-party content that's coming out for Pathfinder, and everyone loves it because just other people doing stuff for Pathfinder is obviously a market people want because it's cool and people like Pathfinder, and when we hear more Pathfinder, and a lot of people have cool ideas for Pathfinder, and then just people coming out with their own stuff utilizing these tools to actually do it fairly and legally. Just and yeah, if anything, to get away from just throwing 5e into more stuff, please.
agreed. 5e is unfortunately kind of like a cancer in a lot of ways because I don't know why people think this way, but 5e just doesn't fit well into like, I guess, yeah, excuse me, choking on my spit. 5e technically works in things if you just consider the base math around the game and nothing that's actually unique to 5e. Because like classes level ups, how skills are done, all that kind of stuff, like a lot of that just doesn't work well, honestly. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to be optimistic about, but I understand people who feel that kind of silence, kind of being like in a snowy field right now in the TTRPG space, because there's just nothing people are talking about at the moment, Like, the biggest news in the TTRPG space was a mistranslated report saying that Hasbro was selling D&D to Tencent, which is not true. It was just a mistranslated report, and that's been the most exciting thing recently. So I think there's a lot to be optimistic about, and I guarantee if you love Pathfinder content, like I know many of my viewers here do, then this year is going to be a exciting year for Pathfinder. Yo, James, what's up? This year especially is gonna have so much content. It's insane. Literally insane. Like, Paizo just does so well at providing so much content for its community to chew through. Controversial opinion. There's not in the controversial who with whom.
How dare you? You take that back right now. We need less Pathfinder.
We need less.
There's too much of it. Get it out of here.
To be fair, right? Man, they produce classes so fast. It's so hard to try them all.
It is actually really fun. In my 40K content creator career, I made some networking buddies, and other just channel buddies. One of them being someone linked to my channel, Foxcast to Nowhere. Very cool guy. I did a podcast episode with him. I got him into Pathfinder. Like, I fully pulled him into this world because I just kept, every once in a while when I'd speak to him, like, I would just pitch Pathfinder to him because he would just talk about D&D, and then we'd get in the topic of tabletop games, and then I became the guy in, like, his server of, like, hey, here's a cool other tabletop game that you could play so you don't have to talk about 5th edition. Because please understand there are good games. And after enough time, he tried out Pathfinder 2nd edition at a local game store, and then was like, dude, this is so peak. And then every once in a while, like, tells me about it, and I'm like, hey man, I have good news. New shit is coming out. And he's like, oh my god. This is a new feeling. Classes are coming out for a tabletop game I'm playing.
Right.
I'm seeing real time a D&D fan be treated decently by a tabletop company.
Right. Oh my god. So, I mean, there's a lot. Daggerheart should be releasing sometime this year. And I think we're going to see some other tabletops come up out of the woodwork and do some stuff. I think Lancer is also... I think Lancer has a big chance to come out, especially because they're having a re-release of their books through Dark Horse, which I don't know the scope, right? My hope is this means that at least for a time, there might be some Lancer books in stores, which would be kind of cool.
That'd be cool. I hope so. At the very least, I hope it starts showing up in some tabletop gaming shops.
Yeah. Because honestly, I think that's the number one thing that hurts Lancer more than anything is just lack of accessibility in like hobby stores.
If some people saw the art style and just were able to page through it, I think people would just yoink it immediately.
I think so too. That's definitely one of, I think, its biggest downfalls. So I think if this whole Dark Horse thing works, because I also know that Dark Horse is like, I know they're not a producer, or are they? I don't know. Actually, I don't know enough to accurately talk about this, but
Dark Horse is a comic publisher.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What I meant to say was like distributor, or what they're actually doing for Lancer in this situation. So I don't know enough, but I do know that they're doing something, and physical books are going to become available. In the very least, I'm going to pick one up because I just think it would be sick.
And you are right, James. The best mech is going to be in the game. The Rayleigh will be there. I am very excited. No other mech that you're referring to, obviously.
I'm sure. I don't know how many people already worry about that kind of thing, but possibly.
I mean, Dark Horse is a very big name.
For sure. I just don't know.
Just adding the logo, but
yeah, I just don't know how many people actually care about that when getting, especially into it like a TTRPG. But maybe I just have a perspective different because I'm not someone who. I just want interesting new TTRPGs. I'll just buy TTRPGs if I think they're interesting enough. So,
as someone who collects comics and graphic novels, whenever I see a Dark Horse thing, I immediately like, okay, I'll actually page through this. Because usually they have a pretty good track record in my experience of they've published some quality, and a lot of stuff that I've picked up that is my favorites in my collection are things that are published directly by the Dark Horse.
So,
The Monarch is on the cover. Oh, damn. Couldn't have been the three good ones: the Rayleigh, the Pegasus, or the Lancaster. Those are the three that deserve it.
Is Lancaster Larry your third favorite mech?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
I love the Lancaster. It's such a good boy.
Lancaster's a good mech. I just didn't think it was your third.
It's just like a big truck. That's why I like it so much.
Yeah, truck with legs.
Yeah, it's just like it's got such a fun vibe to it. I would never. I say that as someone who would never play it, but I think it is such a amazing vibe. Atlas is interesting. It is not my vibe, but I can respect it. Though the Caliban is sitting right there, and how dare you disrespect the Caliban like that?
Caliban's such a good mech. I love the Caliban.
The Caliban is so funny.
Yeah. I was going to say something about Big Sal, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want a lot of people playing Big Sal. Let me be the Saladin guy. I want to be the Saladin guy. I love the Saladin. So good. The video today, a lot of people have been hopping in. It's always fun to see the people hop in and just start spouting all the Lancer memes in my videos. That's how I know that I'm getting actual Lancer fans coming into the videos and checking them out.
Yeah, I just clicked on to check. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got to thank Big Sal. I do hope the Lancer stuff kind of picks up more for the channel because, like, Dragon Kid's got 22k subs, so, you know, I could get 22k subs. Just saying. But
Caliban, how dare you, sir? How dare you, Resident Sleeper the Caliban? That mech is great. Shoulder checking a giant mech and still pushing it back. Based. That's the coolest. Aggressive reloading. How dare you?
Aggressive reloading is really fun. I do love the fact that it just jettisons the cartridges into a mech enough to damage. Like, the absurd thing about it is how tough actual Lancer like mech frames are. Like, mech frames can take RPG fire and take almost no damage. That's how tough they are. And this is just a cartridge just being launched.
One guy's little cartridge shotgun shell just shrink and then boom, takes some damage. What a guy.
It's crazy.
And it's like, it's just a battle suit.
It is.
That's what's so cool about it.
So, like, I'm also very interested to see if Fabula Ultima hops back into the scene somewhere. It made a big splash at the last it wasn't PAX, was it? It was the summer gaming event. I can't think of it at this moment. There's so many. Gen Con. Okay. Gen Con, it made a big splash. A lot of people were talking about it then. I kind of hope it comes back and does the same thing because I really legitimately think Fabula Ultima is a good game. We'll play it on the channel at some point. Unfortunately, the schedule's kind of loaded for the next year. So
I am excited for the next off season too. Like, playing a superhero tabletop game has always been like a light interest, and actually trying one out sounds like a great time.
Yeah, we're gonna play Mutants and Masterminds in our next off season, which will be probably this summer sometime.
Yeah. I've never been a guy that's like been, like, as a kid I was, and then even as an adult, it's been like, you know, superhero stuff's cool. Never been like my absolute favorite thing ever. So like the idea of playing a tabletop game, like role playing as a superhero, I think is a cool concept, and that I think would be fun to dip my toes into, as someone who is not like as super invested and is super obsessive in superhero media as like a lot of other people. Just, I think it's cool and I think it's interesting, and I can't wait to play like an electricity, at least my current idea, an electricity like energy manipulator, like a Cole McGrath from Infamous type, because that is my favorite power type.
Same.
I love electricity manipulation. It's so cool.
Though I got mine from Static Shock, but same.
Yeah, I played Infamous 1 and 2 a lot as a kid. It is my favorite PlayStation titles, and it endlessly makes me depressed that they're stuck on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah. uh makes me laugh at all the Bloodborne guys who are like PlayStation state of play, and they're just like, oh, Bloodborne 2. They fail every year, but man.
I was coping too because they sent a cease and desist to the Bloodborne cart devs. And it's like, why
Yeah.
would they send a cease and desist to the Bloodborne cart devs years into development when they've been very public about Bloodborne cart? Maybe it's because something's in the works, but also, I don't know, who knows. I still have my big theory that there's a really strong exclusivity clause because every other PlayStation game, like exclusive, gets kind of dumped on PC or something with a weird arbitrary length, and we're getting very close to the 10-year mark for Bloodborne. It's gonna be next
I do
year.
hope they do something, because honestly, the setting is so cool. It's my favorite Souls setting ever.
It is.
So.
It's so cool. It's such a good game. I want modders to mess with it as well. I want a Bloodborne randomizer so bad.
But yeah, so like, I don't know. I think right now in general, I think just a lot of things are, I shouldn't say a lot of things are quiet. There's a lot of stuff in the gaming industry that are happening right now. The new Suicide Squad game came out and apparently has been dog water.
I mean, I really like the bug where it was there was a bug where the game was complete when you started it.
Yeah,
on launch. That was
you started
really funny.
and you beat the game immediately. There was also like, apparently Mutahar couldn't even play the game. He tried, and because it's an online always game, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, it is unplayable for him. So
Yeah, it looks like another really annoying dumb live service game.
And again, Suicide Squad.
Again,
please,
which is like,
leave Suicide Squad alone.
Suicide Squad stopped being like, the last good one was literally just the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn sequel, because that was like actually good because it was just a James Gunn movie. And then other than that, also another thing in the Arkhamverse, when the Arkham series hasn't been engaging since Arkham City, and it's just been a slow decline in that. When the sad part, because a lot of people are also just shitting on it without like playing the game, the part that hurts me is like, the story that would be cool is a story of Batman at his absolute lowest meeting the Justice League, where I'm like, oh, that sounds like a cool story. I wish I could play that. That sounds fun. Because I like the Justice League. I like Superman. I would love this. And then it just kind of, I don't know, it feels weird, and it feels like a game that no one really asked for.
So there's still stuff going on, but I think it's just a quiet period. And apparently a lot of people have been having a rough time at the beginning of the year. I mean, weather being what it is, understandable, but just a lot of other things. Apparently a lot of people have just been having a rough early 2024. I mean, we had one, but that was mostly weather related. So, outside of that, it's been okay. Our car has been having trouble too, but again, it's whatever. I'm not blaming on the year.
Started my year off with some major health issues, but now I'm good.
Do you want to play as Boomerang using his signature weapon, a gun? True. Yeah. I don't know. I'm so over the fascination with the Suicide Squad at this point. Like, I loved the animated Suicide Squads. I think they're great. The movies have been mid to me. And the IP in general just seems so overplayed, especially because they just take some of the most dumb I'm so sick and tired of this Harley Quinn fascination people have. Harley Quinn is so boring. At least Deadshot's cool. And like, whatever.
It's like, it's the sad part of where to me is the Suicide Squad like general like circle of stuff is a series that is cursed with having dog shit mixed in with like, no, but this thing is actually cool, and then having to sell it to somebody because it's like the Suicide Squad is a fun movie. Like, it's a really fun comic book movie. And then the sequel series, Peacemaker, is like a really fun
I've
show.
heard good things about it.
Where I gotta say, I genuinely speaking, I was not expecting to be emotionally moved by John Cena's acting performance. He did a very good pivot from WWE to acting. Him and Batista did fantastically in like learning how to act, unlike The Rock. It's a good show. It's really good. It's really well done. It's super stylistic. And like then there's the animated stuff, and then that's it. That's where it ends. It's those products, and then those are the good ones. Hard cut, because everything other than that feels like a really annoying cash grab. I would love more Peacemaker stuff. Yeah, the opening to Peacemaker is so fun. I love the absolutely goofy dance number with everybody with the absolute coldest like stare going on. It's such a vibe. I love that series. I have zero hope for like any future DC stuff or even comic book movie stuff. I see multiverse and I immediately am turned off. The only telling bit will be if James Gunn makes this new universe, and if his Superman is actually a nice guy. Because the most part I'm sad about. I just want nice Superman back.
I want Boy Scout Superman. Yeah.
I want him to be a decent guy. There's a clip that's going around Twitter, and I think is really fun and really nice. It's from one of the cartoons. It's evil Superman, but he's doing like still in the framework of Superman, where he's like blowing clouds on a sunny day to make it rainy.
Yeah.
Like putting a cat back in a tree, and you're like, this is in character. I feel like this is more fitting for an evil Superman. Because that's still Clark Kent in there.
I mean,
it's more fun character. Like,
I think it's a fun character, sure.
I think nice Boy Scout Superman is just, it's fun. I like him. Like, he is engaging. He's an engaging character. And there's fantastic stories written with a nice Superman. And I don't know. I see a lot of issues whenever I see like a really bad Boy Scout rendition of Superman. It always comes down to the writer fundamentally misunderstood his character.
Yeah.
Which is, he is meant to be an idealistic like aspiration of what people can be.
Yeah. The Amazon series, I think it was Amazon. Is it Amazon or Netflix?
Yeah, it's like Superman and Lois.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That one is really, really good. I saw all of it, and it was genuinely the best Superman I've seen in such a long time.
I want to watch that new Superman cartoon. It looks like a fun time.
I agree. Lois was also the most interest Lois Lane I think has ever been as well. It helps that she's hot as well, but I mean, come on. I think everyone's saying that.
I mean, yeah, that's a trend going back like to any rendition. I mean, even the like old 90s Superman cartoon.
True, but this one I like the best of all of them, so.
Yeah.
But I think her character's also genuinely more interesting and genuinely gets in trouble for more legitimate reasons than old Lois Lane ever did. I don't like the connection her father has with things. I
being like the general or whatever.
Yeah, I don't feel like Lois Lane needed to have a story tie-in. The whole point was she was a reporter. I feel like it's just a little much.
That's true. I think that one that's a fair point. It's kind of like a little tie-in that's unnecessary.
Yeah. But yeah, so kind of bringing things back to TTRPGs, there's I guess there's not really much more way to say it. Like, right now there's not going to be a lot, but I have very high hopes that we're going to see more. And I feel like in general, especially with someone like Nonats kind of taking a step back, we're gonna see a little bit of a shuffle with the content creator viewpoint, because like with as much content that Ronald puts out, the fact that he's not bigger is indicative probably of something wrong with the content. And I'm not gonna go into my theories of it. I don't need to sling any hash here. I think he's a great guy. I think he does really, really good work. I think it's strange that his content doesn't do better, but I do think that it's lacking something that a bigger audience wants. So we might see a bit of a shuffling in the Pathfinder 2e space, and who knows? Honestly, if it's King Uga Tuntun, I'm gonna quit YouTube. Cause my God, I don't hate the guy. Don't get me wrong. But man, he's at nearly 10K already. Just blew up out of nowhere. I don't know. I just don't see the appeal. So we'll have to see, honestly. And not only that, but Paizo's doing some interesting stuff. I find it very strange. Paizo didn't have a PaizoCon live this last year. And this year, they are still having an online PaizoCon, which really sucks. But they are trying to bring society play to like some stores, like representative stores in different areas, to kind of bring the society play part of it back. Like, I miss PaizoCon. PaizoCon was a lot of fun. It didn't have to be a big event. And I understand logistically, PaizoCon was not super great as like an actual con. But man, I miss PaizoCon, and I want PaizoCon to be in person. And I feel like a lot of people, even in the PaizoCon or Paizo staff, are feeling the same way. So maybe we'll get some PaizoCon in a few years. I don't know.
I hope so, because if I hope they bring back PaizoCon in person, and I would adore it as well if they brought it back in Seattle again, because then it can actually go.
Yeah. Because legitimately, honestly, I think it was a great event. I think the events were fun. I think that they are good for kind of solidifying the Paizo audience, in one place. And especially with Starfinder 2nd edition, and I think 2nd edition is going to be huge. Actually, I think Starfinder 2nd edition is going to be the most popular Starfinder's ever been.
I feel like it would be. It makes sense. I feel like, if anything, a lot of like Pathfinder players, Pathfinder 2e specifically, are going to jump over. Because like they're making it an easy jump to it because it's similar enough, and with enough key differences to be its own different game. So we'll see. I hope that it's not going to leave a bunch of Starfinder 1e players in the dust, kind of upset that their game's dead, but I wouldn't be surprised.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah.
Especially because they just recently released like the Unchained Starfinder, and they're like, yep, Unchained, and now we got a year and then we're coming out with 2nd edition. And then recently, I actually just got news from Paizo, because I'm on their press pass, that they're going to be ending their Starfinder Society for 1st edition and moving it to 2nd edition. Yeah, it's the year of Era's End is a time to celebrate the end of Starfinder 1st edition. It's time to revisit old friends, capstone some of our most beloved ongoing storylines, and shine a spotlight on big, exciting events in the Starfinder setting. Events that will change the course of Pact of Worlds now and into the future of Starfinder 2nd edition. So this year, like, because I think next year, or they're releasing, I don't know, because the playtest is coming out. Yeah, last year's Starfinder Society. Yeah, for 1st edition. So, I feel like with 2nd edition Starfinder coming out and second edition Pathfinder second edition Pathfinder being a thing, I think we're very, very likely to have a higher chance of having another PaizoCon, if anything, just to bring a bunch of players into a single space again. But we'll have to see. Logistics are logistics, and, you know, we don't want Paizo losing money for something that's not going to earn them money. I think Paizo's success is more important than a con.
Yeah, I think so too. It'd be cool, but I mean, also just that's the nature of things. Unless you are big enough, and like the couple of conventions running an event, you will just lose money. That is, they are built to increase people in your community, just their reception of your product and your brand. The event does not generate any income. They only lose money. It's pretty bad. I mean, I don't think it's a situation, Muffin Hydra, where the 3D VTT will crash and burn. It's just adding stuff on for Foundry is just going to be a thing of more people will have access to it. Foundry is a tool that is very good at increasing its player base. People are using it, modding it anyways. Give it some official support. Maybe make some extra money. The 3D VTT also is just going to be a thing where there are people that are going to be able to run it who have nicer like PCs. And then, I mean, as well, it's going to be another thing where they're going to monetize the shit out of it because people are they're gonna sell like DLC packs essentially. Just you wait, like monster packs and stuff for cool models. I mean, I'm also tied to, I guess, to D&D Beyond. I mean, I don't have a subscription, but I am in a D&D, a long-running D&D campaign with the DM having a D&D Beyond as a subscription, only so all of us in the game can actually, like, have access to all of the content. Because at least only he needs the subscription, but I have told him that if they ever change their policy, like do the Netflix, like, no password sharing, I'm not fucking updating it. I'm not giving them money because I can't afford it anyways. And yeah, con organization is scary.
Ah, damn, I was muted. I think it's just the wrong way to monetize tabletop. Honestly, I think there's so many better ways to monetize tabletop that doing it this way would be the worst choice, because it just hurts their fan base. It provides zero benefits.
They're monetize. It feels like they're going to try to monetize it like a video game in a weird way.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're looking at
where they're the only metrics they have. Like they don't have. There's no other metrics to base like tabletop gaming like monetization off of.
Share my monetization ideas, Battle Gamer. I'm always curious to hear folks' thoughts on this. I mean, funny enough, making good VTTs I think would be a great way to do it, because in a good VTT, you could make so many 99-cent purchases that people just won't care about, but people will buy anyway, like buying different types of dice for your 3D dice that roll, or all that kind of stuff. Like, I think a really good VTT that has great random tables built into it, that has great like dungeon generation, like procedural generation stuff, hiring actual people to design like cities and maps for you, like that's another thing. You know, the number one thing I want to buy when I do a VTT? Maps. Like, good maps. Give me good maps to use. For real. Because, honestly, I'm lazy. I don't want to make my own maps. Especially on computer. like there's so many good ways to do VTT stuff, and you could do what Roll20 is doing, and you have a marketplace where people put stuff up, and you get a cut of the pie. Like it's just something that makes a ton of sense to do, and legitimately, just a huge selection of maps for areas all over the Forgotten Realms with NPCs and everything. Yeah, hell, even NPC packs. Legitimately, I would buy a stack of like 20 NPCs or whatever for like $5 on a VTT, where you pull it out and it gives you a blurb about the character, maybe some interesting facts, maybe some secret things, and just allow them to be like anything. Like you don't even have to say like this is a store merchant. It's just an NPC that has something interesting, that has like a side quest attached to them or whatever, and something that I can then show the players like art of the character that they're talking to.
Yeah. I mean, in that, like, building on that idea, I think the method you could go down in this, I think it's the method that they're pushing for, but I think they're going to push it in a little shittier way.
Yeah, they're going to do it worse.
Obviously. I think the subscription-based model, sadly, it's just how you have to monetize things in an internet age. It's the only way that works, that, like, gives you complete funding. But, like, having a complete online package, like a VTT kind of deal, or even just like running it through D&D Beyond, and then because you're running it digitally, you don't need to deal with publishing anymore. You could run like all digital, and then you still publish the very big books. I don't know, having extra income so then you can actually pay writers and artists and have like teams, and then flesh out your Forgotten Realms that isn't just the Sword Coast,
Right.
and then charge smaller prices for what is essentially big PDFs on regions in the Forgotten Realms, with giant bundles of cities, monsters, NPCs, maps, all of that, a bunch of DM resources. That sounds like money that you could just print. Like, I don't know, that'd probably be decent monetization like that. You could just kind of slowly churn those out. Yeah. And then just flesh out your world at the same time and give people more content slowly. And people would eat that up, but they wouldn't do that.
And also, hi, Spider Nos. Hope you're enjoying MegaCon. It's been a while since you've been around, but glad to see you're doing well. Yeah, I mean, like, as someone who runs predominantly on virtual tabletop stuff, there's a long list of things I wish I could get, especially like on Foundry, where it's legitimately harder to get stuff on Foundry. I can, in the middle of a game on Roll20, go buy a map pack and then put that map into my game while the game's running. Foundry, you can't really do that.
Yeah, you have to like reload it and like shut it down.
Yeah. And like, I just want map packs. Like, give me map packs for like anything I can imagine. Like, just hire people to make map packs. Hell, like, I think that there is a legitimate way to do it, but if they could make like actual AI generated maps, even better, Like, I think that there's a way to do it that's not morally corrupt. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's the same thing as procedural generation, right? Procedural generation is essentially the same thing. But I just want to type a prompt in like Dungeon of a Necromancer and get a map, like something quick, something that's quick and easy like that. That would be preem. I would love that. There's so many ways in virtual like before VTTs, there were other ways you could get people into your games. Dice, collectibles of some variety that you can use for your game, dice trays, all kinds of stuff. I mean, Wormwood, or not Wormwood. Was it Wormwood? No, it's Black. Yeah. The one company that makes all the like dice cases and everything. That's not my own lingo. That is Cyberpunk.
I keep seeing tweets of people talking about that Cyberpunk is stolen as a change, irreversibly changed their
Wormwood.
lexicon.
It is Wormwood, yeah.
See, you got Cyberpunk. I had my lexicon irreversibly altered by Dracula Flow.
Well, I
The
was gonna
internet is
say
fucking.
primo, but that's such an outdated term at this point that I just cut off the O and just made it culturally irrelevant because of Cyberpunk.
And I'll start using Choom.
Yeah, Choom. I think Choom is
Hello.
fine. I'll never.
I like all the weird slang
I
in that
do.
game. It's just so goofy.
It feels organic,
It's
legitimately.
it's it's really funny.
Because of how the internet age is nowadays, stuff like Preem or Choom sounds legit. Especially back in the day. Like, the shortest trend I ever saw was good soup.
Yeah, good soup.
Yeah, it's like, this is good soup. You know? Now it's like, let them cook.
Yeah, true. Yeah, let them cook.
Yeah. So, there's all kinds of stuff. So, Choom, Preem, I got it. Preem especially, because it's just the short of, like, Premiere. Or Primo. So Preem makes sense. Choom, I mean, I can get behind it for sure. Like I said, I won't do it unless like the internet as a whole starts doing it, because like your lexicon has to adapt to the age. If you want to be an internet personality, you have to at least try to integrate in a way that's not obtuse to your character. I have no idea what Choom actually comes from. I'm sure there is a root to it.
1 second. I quickly looked it up. What the origin of Choom is, and it comes from a longer word of Choomba.
Choomba?
That's not a joke. 1 sec. I'm figuring it out. Okay, so it's analogous to bro. It's basically it's slang for friend or family member. It basically means bro or dude.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just a cranky old guy. I mean, it's fair, it's hard to keep up. And sometimes you can do your best to integrate. You could try to keep up. And you just hit a certain age where people just get weirded out by it. Like, there's just no way around it.
I always just found the best way to deal with it is just not try. And then if you find yourself just saying new words, just like, oh, that's new, and then just not fight it either way.
I mean, yeah, right. That's kind of just... It's just the thing of like, and to be fair, tons of people are fine just talking normally without using any slang or using it ironically. That's how you do it. You use it ironically until it starts becoming unironic for you.
The one it's like sick and based are the two that are like the most used by me. I know for sure. Based, I used ironically for a while and then started using unironically. And then sick is just something I've always said. I've said it for a long time.
I want old chum to come back. How you doing, old chum?
Like all I think of is just like the Adam West Batman era. Like
Yeah.
saying it in that specific tone.
And I don't know. I think with new VTT stuff, because I do think VTTs are actually starting to kind of catch up. I think with new VTT stuff, watching tabletop content is going to become easier when it becomes much more presentable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the more presentable it gets, the more interesting. That's always a bit I like about Dimension 20 that I don't think it's brought up a lot, because we can always talk about the the acting and the other stuff is what makes it fun. Because I do like that. I like the improv. I'm a longtime College Humor fan, so that part appeals to me. I was watching them from early days of YouTube. But the other aspect is I like the miniature work. I really like it. That's a part that also I really liked about Critical Role. I really like. I think Matthew Mercer does a great job when it comes to miniatures, and their like style when it comes to that is just fantastic. And so if VTTs can just start looking really really cool and presentable and visual, like hell yeah. Oh yeah, the like specifically the editing, with the miniatures and stuff, I really enjoy. I am fascinated with the editing of Dimension 20. That is like one of my favorite elements of it, because I think it is one of the best methods of actually producing a live play that I have seen. It's one of the reasons I like it. It's like I just think all encompassing. It hits every single note that I would want in a live play. And as a product, I look at it and I keep seeing design and production choices where I'm like, ah, fuck, that's a great idea. Oh, that's so smart. I really like that you did that. And then it makes me like really happy. And I don't get that in a lot of other live plays because a lot of them are just they just record the entire chunk.
Yeah.
Which I mean we do, but other like really professional productions do that, where it's like
Yeah.
you don't need to do this. This is I understand you're doing it live, but if you're not recording it live, you can edit and you should go back and edit because there's dead air. There are parts that don't need to be here. You can trim the fat, and you should do that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, the live plays we do are just for the sake of having live plays. It also just gives me a reason to, you know, to try other games in addition.
And one of the other stated bits I know is that it's so people can then look and see a direct example of you directly practicing what you preach.
Yeah.
And like showing the examples of like if you give advice, they can directly look at you doing it and seeing it in play.
So, like, that's the reason, but I would love to like one day get to that point. The hardest part is I play with my friends and it's all like pro bono, right? What my friends receive is good tabletop. That's it. If I could get to the point where I could pay my friends, then I could start being like, all right, guys, let's start playing in a more presentable way. You know, let's adapt the way we play. Not like inorganically playing the game, but let's just get into some habits that are more like presentable because like that's what a lot of Dimension 20 does. A lot of like playing with the figurines, a lot of the how they like interact, how the people interact in general. A lot of that's super practiced. A lot of that is not how I think how they would play like in a home game, you know. So,
I will say apparently they do.
I mean, maybe
from
sure.
what they've said in live stuff from other games they've run, because they when they're not doing Dimension 20, from what I've seen of the live streams they did during COVID, they've said the only difference between some of the Dimension 20 stuff they've done is that the games are longer when they're playing it at home, which I think is cool at the very least. But obviously, you know, there's deader air, and then the difference of they've been doing professional UCB theater like improv
Right.
for so long, and they're very good. Yeah, yeah, that's how you spell improv. It's without the E.
Yeah.
And also down that line specifically, especially when we can all be in the same area, and then it's for money. Managing an actual production, I would 100% like push for like a production that is similar to Dimension 20, because I think what they're doing is not difficult. It's easier. All it is editing. Like what they're doing is just a multi-camera setup with editing.
Yeah.
Which is
well,
hard.
and the thing I would like to do actually is I'd like to make it a VTT version. I would like to do because I think there is a way to do it in a VTT way, especially with like a stream setup where you can swap screens for certain things.
That's fair.
Where you could have like observers in your game, quote unquote, that are your cameras that can be zoomed in on different things. Plus, you can have character art popping up. We actually had a moment recently because we have character art for our vampire game that just finished. Very good character art done by my lovely fiance, and we just had two people in chat, and so it's like there are two characters. It looked like they were chatting with each other, like on the play screen, and I thought that was really cool. So I like to have like the ability to have something like that going on while running a game, you know.
Yeah, it's setting up a lot of scenes, and then Do you have don't you have one of those? The like one of those stream little like what are they? The Streamlabs things where you like press a button, little like mini keyboard on your desk that like toggles
Yes,
stuff.
I do have I do have a Stream Deck.
That's it, Stream Deck. Yeah,
Yeah.
the it's just setting up a lot of different scenes and then setting up it's a lot of custom scenes you'd have to set up
Yeah.
like beforehand.
Well, and the thing I would like to do is have someone else doing that while I'm running the game, so that I can not split my focus. Because when I split my focus, I forget. I get so in tune with the game, I forget what's going on.
Yeah.
So there is a way I think that we can make tabletop better, and I think it's just something that you need. It needs to get there eventually, but I would like to do it for VTT specifically because that's the most accessible type of tabletop.
That is true.
So, and then also it's embargo, so I can't talk about it. But I just got some really, really good news from Paizo. It's embargoed until tomorrow, though, so I can't tell you guys. But some really cool stuff about stuff coming out. So, just wanted to mention that because the email just came in, like, during stream. So, you'll all have to wait and see. We'll probably talk about it next Table Talk, at least somewhat. Or I'll make a video. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'll do on Monday. But, yeah, so, like, I think right now the problem is that the hobby is just, it's still growing, and it still does not have enough innovators in the scene yet. Let patrons control certain mobs in session. GM just runs game. Audience controls trash mobs. Players play heroes. I wonder, what is this about? Ooh, who knows? Maybe, I don't know necessarily, because it's like, how do you do that when you have a massive audience, right? There is the Legends of Adventurous or Adventures of Adventurous. I can't remember. Really great tabletop channel as well that does live play stuff, and their stuff is they're really funny. They're hilarious. I think it's Legends of Adventurous, and they're really, really funny. I think they do a lot of really fun stuff, and I think they have something similar to that where they have certain prompts that are given to them by the viewers, and it just like completely changes the scene, and they just have to go with it, So
the method I immediately thought of, I mean, it wasn't even like wasn't even like fully controlling, but almost like if maybe chat members could like just having that chat integration, maybe for specific donation or even like certain collaborative donation or community involvement thing, where temporarily chat can possess a specific enemy in a scene and like influence what they do. It's like to the same extent that we've had other ideas of like chat changing certain game elements and like altering either aiding or like giving curses upon like the player, like giving benefits or issues that they now have to deal with.
I still like the multiverse idea we have where we're playing like 3 or 4 games simultaneously in chat.
I want to do that.
And chat can donate to either change a character or change the game that we're playing.
Yeah, because then trying your best to interact with a game system with a different game character. It's like, okay, I'm in a D100 system with a D6 character? Chat, help me. That'd be so funny. It's like, all right, you need to make, you're in a D6 this game. All right, you just got to make a 12. Okay. I got a 98. I think that'd be such a fun character, like game idea. It'd be so fun. I immediately thought like this just sounds like a you could do essentially the tabletop version of a Doug stream.
Yeah,
that does so much like Twitch play stuff.
And that's the fun of tabletop is it's improv, right? So it's there's a lot of really fun things, and like you can have really silly way out there games in addition to your more serious games. So like I'm hoping for the future of this channel we'll have something like that
Mhm.
in a certain era, and I think if we can do this, we'll make actually legitimately interesting tabletop for people to see and
Yeah.
interact with. There was
Well,
actually something I was just thinking of. I think I don't remember, but I think there's an add-on you can do for something like Twitch, where the viewers can like click on the screen or mouse over the screen or
click mouse.
something like that. Yeah, to highlight certain things.
Yep, that is Doug uses that a lot, and I mean
If
other streamers do too. But
if you set it where the chat controls an NPC, and you just put it like on a 6 second timer, where it's just like, all right, they have 6 seconds to mouse over, click over, whatever, however it works, like whatever action they're doing, and it's by majority vote. That might be a way to do it.
yep. And then like straw poll, who do they attack, something like that. Also Dead Phoenix, yeah, you're assuming that like we're the D100 system we'd use is like, Call of Cthulhu, but what if we're using like Anima Beyond Fantasy for the D100 system, and then
Yeah.
we have an Anima Beyond Fantasy character that is running around in like, I don't know, Blades in the Dark, or or like Candle Obscura or something.
I think there's a lot of really fun ideas.
They're just
Uh,
the interactions would be so funny of like trying to deal with a problem where you're severely overpowered or severely underpowered, or
no,
the melding of mechanics is just weird, and coming with situations where it's like, huh, this works a little too smoothly. This is unintended but hilarious.
one we had to put in as Lancer, but rather than
Yes.
the mechs transferring, you're either in the mech or your pilot gets transferred to another game. So
God.
so you might be like, oh, we're playing Pathfinder, and then suddenly, bam, you're in a mech. What do you do? What do your
What
characters
do I
do?
do? You're just trying to control it. You're like like a warrior. You're in like plate armor, and you're just like, what is this?
Right. Just in a mech suit. That
Oh
would be
yeah, roll an
hilarious.
intelligence check to learn how to pilot a mech. Like trying to use like your recall knowledge feats to like learn how to like drive a mech.
That'd be really funny.
That'd be so funny, just having to deal with these situations. Well, that's where we have Mech Finder.
Well, so this is the thing though, is it's I there's some logistic things we'd have to figure out to make it like actually work. Because otherwise, yeah, you get that situation where it's just like, oh, a mech does a D3 damage, and it's like, I laugh in 300 HP. Uh,
Yeah.
there's ways we'd have to do it. It'd have to be something a little more along the lines of like we make versions of like 3 or 4 characters for every game.
Yeah, we do some like realistic scaling.
Yeah.
Like there's the certain extents where I think just having a you have to make the adjustments where it's just there are certain elements that would come up that are like genuinely unplayable.
Yeah.
Um so solving those interactions is important, but keeping the rest of just the really weird rules interactions is fun enough to keep. I think the other aspect is ensuring that like these weird rule interactions, doing our best to ensure that like all of us as the players are the least aware of all of the fixes and changes might be better, because like the fun of it is in the moment also trying to be like, how the fuck do I rationalize and work with this, oh god. It's just you get like in the moment improv, like it's such a cool idea that I want
I
to play. This
yeah.
sounds so fun.
It's definitely something, and I'd love to do it in a way that is fun to watch. And so for something, see, the hard part about live streaming it is like how do you swap like a game over, right?
I know. Uh, well, mainly because like let's see, there's four games that we be using or something.
3 to 4,
Uh,
somewhere in that range.
like yeah, you have like say like four games, And so then what you do is you have you have 4 stream overlays, like themes, and then it's like, oh, game switch, and then you switch over the theme, and
Oh,
then
well,
you have the
that part's
character portraits.
easy. I'm
Yeah,
talking
then
about
the
on the
character
player
portraits
end.
change. Like
Because Foundry, you can't
oh yeah,
change the
fair.
game unless you close the game and open another game.
Oh, fair. Okay.
Yeah.
So if
Roll
we have
20
multiple.
technically could do it because you can just have 4 of those open, but then we'd have to play with people who have good computers. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we might have to use Roll20 for that.
So, it's something we'll figure out, I think, further down the road. It's something that if we're going to do, I'd like to do it in a way that, one, we have a big enough audience to make it really fun, and 2, like, getting a lot of logistics out.
Oh, you know what? No, that's a better idea. Just have 4 VTTs running.
Yeah. That would not blow anyone's computer up or anything. My computer would be fine.
Mine would too.
But yeah, our computers would be fine. But like, some of our players, not so much. I definitely think that there's something there. I think there's a fun way to do a lot of this kind of stuff. And it's stuff we're planning on doing. Like, I definitely want to when it opens up. And I think this year I will eventually open a Patreon for people to help support the channel. Because as much as Twitch is nice, you know, I feel like people are just more open to supporting on Patreon than they are subbing on Twitch. Especially if they're not people who normally do it. So
yeah, even with like a YouTube membership thing, I think Patreon might just be like a better service.
Yeah. I'll see, but I definitely think I'll start looking into it, especially because I'm planning this year to grow the channel to 10K at some points this year. And with all the stuff coming out, I think we have a really good chance. And I mean, even if 1% of my viewer base supports at 10K, that's still 100 people, right? So 100 people paying $5, right? That's $500, but that's $500 that could go to a lot of stuff on the channel. So
yeah, exactly.
I still want to provide content for it, but I think I'm slowly kind of coming to terms with the fact that at the moment anyway, I just don't have the time. Just because I produce so many videos every week.
I think it's figuring out that's what I've been doing too, is while also looking around at like other styles and like other YouTuber styles that I think are interesting that I want to start adapting, is seeing what other Patreons do that people value, or even like channel memberships. Where honestly, it feels like a lot of people, one, just value like just giving money to a person they really like and want to see make more stuff in the first place.
Yeah.
But like just having like the name and the credit and like getting the shout out is what like a lot of people value, or even just like early access to like a bigger project or a bigger video.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I'm gonna look into that, and I think I'm becoming more okay with just the idea of people supporting me financially without necessarily having to go on my way to produce extra content, because I think people who believe in the channel just want the channel. They want what I'm already producing, and they want to pay. It's like I'm already producing things people want to pay for. They just don't have any way of paying for it right now, is the way I've been kind of thinking about it. So that's kind of the way I want to rationalize it, because again, I'm just not someone who likes just taking money from people without giving some kind of service. And if I had a preference, I'd prefer to take from sponsors and big corporation ad revenue than I would my audience, because, you know, they have the money to spare. But I think in all actuality, realistically speaking, a Patreon is going to help push this channel to a place that ad revenue never would, you know. And Sponsorships are somewhat lacking. We do have a sponsored video tomorrow for the build video I'm doing. Tomorrow I'm doing the Vicious Songblade build. So if you're interested in Bard and not using magic as a Bard, besides your composition cantrips, check it out. It's gonna be a cool build. It's gonna
What
release
if
that tomorrow.
I don't want to use composition cantrips?
Breaks a lot of the build.
Damn.
But see, with Warrior Muse, you can turn using your composition cantrip into your ally striding, striking, or both. And while you have your composition cantrip active, you get reactive strike, just like a fighter. So, and plus, it just gives you a +1 to hit and everyone around you. So, like, a single action. That's a higher. Well, the builds are 1 to 20, so all you have to do is just use Courageous Anthem, and then fight with a weapon. That's all you have to do every turn. And because you're a Warrior Muse, you only have to use Courageous Anthem every other turn.
I see.
Because martial performance, when you strike an enemy, it extends your performance by 1 round. But it only works 1 time between casts. So it's a pretty good build. It's a pretty interesting build, and with how Bard is set up currently, it's a really good martial spellcaster, surprisingly. So
I would not expect a Bard to be the one capable of being a really good martial spellcaster.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I guess Druid is better with their shaping, but the Bard one is like an actual weapon user. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use your spells for out of combat stuff, or even just enhance combat moments when, you feel the desire to do so. And you're a spontaneous caster, so you don't have to prep your spells ahead of time. But yeah, it's so we got sponsor stuff tomorrow. We got lots of great things coming for the channel. And I say this like every stream, I kind of talk about this kind of stuff. It's just because it becomes more likely every day, more likely with every sub we get, more likely with every new member. Like, our Discord is at nearly 250 people. We just got someone right now. We have it's crazy. Let's see, how many people do we have currently? We have 93 members online at the moment and 145 offline. So that is a grand total of 240 if I count my mods. So we're 10 people away from having 250 people in a Discord, which is nuts. And while that's not huge compared to some of the bigger Discords for sure, we got a lot. Also, the channel, we're less than 500 subs from 5K. And I guarantee there's going to be some months this year where the channel is going to jump by 1,000 or more.
That is the dream. Just that one big just whoosh. I'm also waiting for that. I'm close to 3K. Every time I produce a video, it's it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
Almost there.
So, and I'm getting money, and I've been putting more money into the setup and everything. If anyone is keen enough to notice, my green screen has actually gotten a little bit better. The green screening has gotten better because I've been able to buy a better green screen and some other stuff, behind the scenes stuff as well. So I am doing my best to put everything I can into the channel, but it's just what can you do with $100 even, I've already got a lot of things I can buy with $100 already.
And my next move is I'm just gonna buy a handheld mic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna ditch lav. I'm gonna go to like the handheld. Because also I like the style. I see a lot of other YouTubers do it. I think visually I like the look of it, and then like audio wise, I think it sounds better. Because my lav has been giving me some issues, but um, once I get the money for the upgrade, at least.
Honestly, my next big purchase I want to do is I want to upgrade my mic setup. I want to get like an actual good mic, you know, like a whole like input in mic rather than a USB mic, and
Yeah.
and then use the sound table that I actually got like a couple years ago for it. So I just want to make my audio quality better. Plus, there's a lot of fun like audio things you can do with it once you get that kind of setup. So because you can just change everything analog, which is pretty good.
Agreed. Those knobs and dials, having worked with them a lot, is they're so nice.
Yeah.
I wish it's just like the setups that I'm used to and I would like love. Damn, the Zoom 8Z or whatever. It's like my favorite piece of equipment. It's like $800 though.
Yeah, they're
Like,
expensive.
it's so much.
So, you know, I'm just excited for it. I can't help but talk about it. And as well, it's like in tabletop, I want more exciting things to talk about. And there are some actually really exciting things to talk about that are on the horizon. We have Matt Colville's game that he's in the production in the process of producing. I'm sure everyone's seen it at some point. The MCDM game. Nonat made a video on it, actually, funny enough. Daggerheart is interesting. It looks like another Super Rules Light game.
Daggerheart's Rules Light?
I think so. Like a little crunchier than Candle Obscura, but not by... It's still, I think, in the light category. We'll have to see. That's been my impressions from watching like Bob Builder's content on it. We have the new D&D stuff coming out. I mean, and who knows what other amazing games. Like, I love Fabula Ultima. I would have never heard of it if someone didn't chat about it on Twitter one time. You know what I mean?
Fabula Ultima is very fun. I would love more from it. And also, by the way, just so it's not misconstrued, my only response at it being Rules Light is only because it means more people are going to be immensely annoying again. Conflating a game being Rules Light as being a bad game. And not that maybe you just don't like Rules Light as a system.
Maybe. Like, I have no idea, honestly, James. We'll have to see. I hope it's at least as crunchy as Fabula Ultima. I would be happy with that, honestly. But I kind of just want a good game that has a level of crunch similar to Pathfinder 2e. Because legitimately, a lot of games we've been dipping into, looking at all that kind of stuff, a lot of them are a lot more on the rules light end of things. And I don't dislike that necessarily. But I do just miss having a little bit more to bite into sometimes, you know. Like, that's why I really love making Lancer content. Because Lancer could be argued it's partially rules light with the pilot stuff. But the mech combat is very good, and it's not, like, overly dense. Like some other mech games can be, so. I don't know. We'll have to see. Legitimately, I'm very interested. Plus, there's some other games that have been using the same formula as Lancer. Goomba Bomla, I believe, is using the same kind of setup. And that's another one I'm actually super interested in looking into. I don't know, and that's the problem, is that it's really hard to find what's new and popping in the TTRPG scene because it's all niche, quiet communities that don't really have a lot of media presence. So, you know, I'm trying to make this channel the place for those to exist where people can hear about it. Beacon, I've heard some good things about as well.
What's the name I've heard thrown around?
Yeah, Sally media presence is expensive. Well, and that's the thing, is it could also just be YouTubers, but there's just variety tabletop is just not a thing people want to watch, unfortunately. And I think also the algorithm really struggles with Variety Tabletop because it's not the one track line that the algorithm is based on. Like when you're a D&D content creator, the algorithm pumps you out to anyone who does anything D&D. And I feel like that's kind of what stopped my channel from really growing as fast in the Pathfinder community. Literally is because I make content on other things. So if I want the algorithm to work, I need people to type in Bad Luck Gamer more than whatever, you know? Because if enough people type in Bad Luck Gamer in their search results, then my videos will just go to more people. And that's a really rough thing to do with the algorithm. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to go solo Pathfinder, though, because I feel like in the end that would just... I mean, then you'll get Bad Luck Gamer stuff, but that doesn't work that way for the algorithm as a whole.
It falls that way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's just like, that's the thing, is like, it's either you got like 100k subs or more. It's probably even more than 100k at this point, where the algorithm starts just putting your stuff out to people who's looking at anything, or you just one line something really, really hard. But we'll have to see. Unfortunately, all I can do is try. And that's just kind of what it boils down to. But we're kind of hitting the end of stream here. So before we go, is there anything you want to leave us with, sir, before we head out?
Other than the fact that I put out a video today, if you are looking for 40k content, look me up, Glue Boy. I make 40k lore, and today I put out a video on specifically book recommendations, my absolute favorite books from 40k that I would highly recommend you read. And then also in the comments, a lot of people are recommending their favorite books. So if none of them in that video directly catch your eye, there are a lot of recommendations. And then keep an eye out in the next coming weeks, either Monday or Thursday, depending on just how long it takes. I will have a video on Lancer coming out, Lancer lore, and getting into that, which will be great fun. So go check out my channel. It's linked in Cam's YouTube, or just look up Blue Boy.
Yep. As for me, I'm putting out a build video tomorrow, a sponsored video, thanks to Eldritch Osiris Games. So thank you all so much. It's gonna be a really fun build. Also, yeah, that's you, James.
Yeah.
Also, next week, I'm going to start getting into Lancer. I'm going to have a Lancer review next week, which is going to be pretty cool. I'm very excited to talk about it in like an official review sense. And we'll see. Like I said, I got that embargoed information that'll be coming out. Who knows? I don't know if I'll make a video on it or we'll just talk about it. But there's some really cool things Paizo's getting ready to release this coming year. So keep an ear out for that info. And yeah, I look forward to the rest of this year. We got a lot of great things on Pathfinder, on Starfinder, on Lancer. It's a big year, and we're just starting February, literally February 1st. And I know starting like next month, we're going to have the channel. I'm going to be so busy on the channel. So if you want more content than anyone else on TTRPG stuff, then you guys know where to be. But with that, that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for being here. And I guess we'll go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.